Hey everybody, I'm Johnny Mack, the host of the Soulful Hunter podcast. Thank you for watching this episode. If you have not done so already, please hit the subscribe button for the Washington Backcountry YouTube channel that powers the Soulful Hunter podcast. If you want to connect with us more at Soulful Hunter, go to Instagram or Facebook at the Soulful Hunter podcast. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soulful Hunter podcast. I am your host, Johnny Mack. Through this podcast, I am on a mission to transform lives through primal adventure and to spread my mission of mentorship is conservation. This podcast is powered by Washington Backcountry, a resource for all hunters new and old. To find out more about Washington Backcountry, go to wabackcountry.com or search for Washington Backcountry on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soulful Hunter podcast. Tonight, I have just a wonderful treat for all of you. Tonight, we're going to bring a different perspective to the hunting world that not a lot of people get to hear. And for those of you who are married, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And those of you who are on your way to finding your spouse or your significant other, this is a great episode for you to listen and learn from. Tonight, our guest is my wonderful and beautiful wife, Megan. So Megan's joining us here for this episode, and we're going to do a little episode talking about what it's like for the wife or the other half left at home when you're out hunting and on your adventures. So, Maggie, thanks for coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me. This is something that I feel is quite natural for us to do since we have these conversations together and with other people all the time. So why not spread the love?
Yeah, this is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I think that is super beneficial for everyone out there. You know, with Soulful Hunter Podcast, we are trying to reinvent and reimagine hunting as you know it, and to provide hunting with a better name and a better public profile than what our predecessors have left us. And this idea of a men's club, a good old boys club, and leaving the women and kids at home, and we're going to go out and having it be a dude's weekend is all well and good until you are trying to be a good husband, a good father, a good spouse, and at the same time being a good hunter. Because if you're not taking care of the home front, when you're out in the field, you're going to be distracted and things are not going to be going as smooth as
you might be sleeping on the couch.
As I have very well experienced in my short hunting career. So tonight, Meg, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everyone what you do and
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So I am, of course, the mother of our three boys, Carter, Cannon, and Case. John and I have been married for 6.5 years, and for the last 8.5 years, I have been a nurse, currently working as a school nurse with little ones in the school district. And really, hobbies-wise, never included hunting. My dad was a big hunter. But more and more listening to you and watching your excitement and the people around you, my interest is piqued, and I kind of want to see what it's all about. Obviously, we've been
eating wild meat
we've been eating wild meat. We've been hiking. We've kind of done a little bit. Like I've dipped my foot in the pool, but we haven't done the whole thing yet. So
I've taken you shooting.
This is true. Fun stuff.
Yeah. You've enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into this a little bit and talk about what it's like with the other half, hunting and your better half. So Megan, when I met Megan, it was love at first sight. This is like a match made in heaven. So one of the things that's amazing is that when it comes to people are afraid to meet their hunting partners online, but they'll go ahead and sign their life away to online dating.
True.
The whole concept is that if you are vulnerable enough to put yourself out there, you're going to reap the benefits of you being vulnerable enough. So I was vulnerable. Megan was vulnerable. We met on plentyoffish.com.
Free. Hello.
Free dating. Walked in, locked eyes, knew it was over. That night I was giggling like a little school kid in bed, being like, oh my gosh, I just met my wife. I can't believe this. That was end of January, beginning of February.
End of January, yeah.
Bought a ring, proposed a month later.
Crazy.
And June 22nd that year, 2013, we tied the knot. The point with all this is that I was willing to like just dive in head over heels with the person who I know was a great fit for me. In the hunting community, there's a lot of people who are afraid to make connections, and the power of social media is so huge nowadays that I actually, one of my hunting partners, Rob, I met last year and knew him through social media, and he ended up being with me on my very first buck back in November that I shot, which was pretty cool. But let's get back into the whole hunting in your better half. So when I met Megan, I was not a hunter. This was something that when we went through almost like the prenups of our marriage and being like, hey, here's who we are and what we see our life being like. Do you want to sign up for this?
Right.
You know, here's the hot and heavy. Choose it if you want it.
Choose it or not choose it. But this is who I am, and this is what I come with. Yeah, hunting wasn't not on the list.
It was not on the list, and it was really interesting that that summer we took a road trip out to North Dakota, or maybe it was the summer after we got married.
Yeah.
And I had my hunter's license. And I was like, oh, I want to start pursuing hunting. Met up with our good buddy Jeff and his wife Christina out in North Dakota, who I used to live, teach, and coach with. And I wanted to introduce them to the wife and all that. And when we were out there, he was like, yeah, when I met my wife, I said, no way are we getting married during hunting season. And it's funny, like looking back on it, it was like, man, how could you be like so against it? And he's like, dude, every anniversary, every birthday, every whatever it is always going to be competing with the other thing that you love in your life.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well.
But at that time you weren't.
I was so new to hunting and never even really experienced the power that hunting has, that I was like, oh, okay, well, good thing I got married in July.
June, honey. We got married in June. We had a baby in July. We got married in June.
So
too many dates.
So here we are, and I start pursuing hunting. But before we got married, I was like, Megan, I'm a head football coach, or I'm going to be a head football coach. You're going to be a football wife, a coach's wife. I coached 4 sports at the time. Like, this is what I do. This is who I am.
Right.
Little did I know that I wanted to change the path and create a new legacy for myself and for my children that at the time we didn't have. And it turns out we have 3 boys now. So the power of that is so exponential. But when I signed up to get married with Meg, I was like, hey, I'm a coach. You're going to be a coach's wife. What do you think of that?
I was like, all right. That comes with the territory, I guess. And that's what I'm signing up for. And I kind of signed on the dotted line. I knew that from August to at least November, December, January, if you got into the playoffs, that you were going to be gone 6 days a week.
Yep.
Talking about football on Sundays also, and watching football. I mean, I kind of signed up for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Not knowing any better. I mean, we only knew each other for 5 months before we got married, but yeah, I signed up for it. Absolutely.
So
then you changed it on me.
And then all of a sudden I fell in love with hunting, and the rest is history, as y'all listeners know, that created Washington Backcountry, the Soulful Hunter podcast, and here we are trying to transform lives through primal adventure and talking about mentorship as conservation, let alone at the same time, I'm a new husband, I'm a new father, and I am trying to be my best as a man.
Yeah, you're just learning all kinds of new things all at the same time, and that's hard sometimes, as you know. The growing pains are real, and the first couple of years of marriage, I think for anybody, is really, really hard. Then you add on having a baby in that first year. Then you add on starting a new hobby in that first year. It gets intense, as I'm sure plenty of people listening know. Or if you don't know, you will know in the future that it's super, super intense. And it can be very trivial at times. It's hard.
Yeah. The thing is that my wife, she was like, you're really good at a lot of things, but you can't be great at everything, and it's time to choose. And I knew that I could be a really great coach and a crappy hunter, or I could be a really good hunter and a crappy coach.
Or not coach. Yeah.
Or not coach, or do both and not be fulfilled by either.
Right.
And so for me, I decided to step down from coaching. Came at a great time in which I also had our second son.
Yep.
And I said, all right, I want to dive into this full time. Let's do it. And so from your perspective, what is it like being the wife of a hunter?
Well, I mean, depends on the day that you ask me. Depends on how stressed I am. But really, it's you as the, I don't want to say as the wife, because I know there are a lot of female hunters out there. And so I want everybody to be included that's listening. So as the non-hunting person, you are sacrificing time with the partner that's hunting, because that is the second love, or sometimes it could be the first love, and you're giving up time with that person, knowing that that's what makes them happy and they're doing something that they love. And so for me, it's a huge tug of war, because it's so time consuming at times, depending on what you're hunting and what season it is and what you're doing. Having you gone for days on end, or like, for instance, when you did the elk hunt, you were gone for, I always say 9, but you say 7. So yep. somewhere between 7 and 9 days. It's hard because I miss you. And also I enjoy having that extra hands around with the kids too. So it's, but then I love you so much. I want you to be happy and I want you to be doing what you want to do. So it's a balancing act. And, I'm lucky to have you as a husband, somebody who recognizes that you can't just go for weeks on end like you probably want to do. Like, you recognize that you have responsibilities at home and you balance that very, very well. But for someone like my dad, who, when my mom had all 3 of us at a young age, didn't quite recognize what it meant for my mom to be home alone for 2 weeks at a time, that was really hard for her. And so I have seen kind of both sides. Like, I'm living one side and I've seen the other, and I kind of know that. Yeah.
So explain to the listeners. So my wife grew up with her father being a big time hunter.
Yeah. So my dad's dad, my grandpa, and my dad, huge hunters, just outdoorsmen in general, hunter, fisherman. My grandfather did taxidermy and had essentially what was a zoo inside of his log cabin next to our house. My dad kind of hunted everything, big game, small game, birds. I don't remember him ever hunting, like doing predator hunting, but it was great. And my grandparents had a freezer full of food, but my mom absolutely refused to cook or eat anything that my dad ever killed, because she looked at it as killing something and having it being like sad, rather than killing something and having it being like this organic, amazing, free range meat that tastes amazing, that's free, basically. And so I had kind of I don't want to say tainted view, but a skewed view of what it was to be a hunter and what it was to live that lifestyle, because my mom and my dad were on such different spectrums of what they believed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it was hard. So coming into this, when you decided that you were going to be a hunter, I was very conflicted. And it took me a while to kind of get over being conflicted about it and just enjoying the meat because it's delicious, and understanding, I mean, I'm really into health and fitness and nutrition, and understanding that this is like the best meat that you could ever put into your body, because it's free of absolutely every kind of crap that they put into meats these days that you buy at the grocery store. So
yeah, totally hormone free,
absolutely,
pesticide or whatever.
Yeah.
So having a skewed view of hunting and seeing that your mom, even though she supported your dad, but didn't eat or cook the meat.
Correct.
Your dad was gone weeks on end.
Oh, sometimes he would go to, well, not sometimes, he would go every year to Montana to hunt with my grandpa for 2 weeks. And my mom had a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. I mean, I can't even imagine.
It was hard enough, which we'll get into in a little bit, for me to take off this year for 2 nights.
Yeah, for 2 nights. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's interesting. So as you growing as a person, also, one of the most important things is that I want to share with the Soulful Hunters, that stand up for what you believe in.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So you as my wife, you are not second fiddle.
Correct.
To hunting, nor, you are your own individual before you came into this marriage.
Correct.
So you have your own views, your own feelings, your own opinions.
Yeah.
And here I am discovering something for the very first time, like a kid in a candy shop, being like, oh man, this is great. I got to try this. I want to try this. I want to go do this.
Yeah.
What is that like on a marriage?
I mean, it's so beautiful to watch it happen for you, because, I mean, I don't have anything like that in my life. I don't have anything that I'm super passionate or want to turn into a hobby right now. I'll have time at some point. But to watch you go through that, it was really beautiful, because I watched you discover something about yourself that was deep down inside that's always been there. I watched you discover that, and then I watched it blossom, and then I watched you turn it into something amazing and beautiful that you're sharing with the world, which is really cool. It's really cool.
I appreciate that.
It also is super frustrating at times.
Well, that's what. Yeah, no. We like share that. Like,
yeah, it's hard. It's really, really hard to have you be on the phone all the time, to have you putting all your time and effort, most of your time and effort, into this when, like, I need help with feeding the baby, or I am losing my mind and I need 5 minutes off to just decompress. Do you want to talk about that first podcast after the baby was born?
So one of the things that really spurred on something that was very influential in my own personal life as far as making gains as to who I am was challenging myself to get out of my head and speak my thoughts. And with that came the frustration and the growth of what it means to be a father and a provider, which on my very first solo episode, which I don't even remember what one that was released back in October, where I talk about, passion versus purpose and responsibility and what it means to be a provider, because I justified my own head, even though we had a 2-month-old, 3-month-old.
He was 2 weeks old.
Well, so I'll back it up for a second. We had our third boy at the end of July. Bear opens in August. I was crazy, but hoping to get out to go on a bear hunt. Push that aside. Hope to get out for elk, knowing that last year I shot my first elk. It's provided so much meat. We haven't bought beef in a year and a half, in almost 2 years. And it has just been the biggest blessing. And so I know how important that is for us to do that again. And so I was like, I know we have, September, a 2-month-old at home.
Yeah.
Can I get out for 2 nights?
I know you did ask, and you were very kind about it, and you were very respectful about it. And my answer always wants to be yes, which is why I'm a jerk. I told him yes. I told him he could go. And then I lost my mind because I didn't know how to take care of 3 kids by myself. And the night that you were supposed to leave, the night before, I said, if you leave, you're not going. Basically, I said, no, you can't go. You're not going. It's not up for discussion. And
if I leave when I come back, she's not going to be here type thing.
I wasn't going to say that, but I didn't mean that. But I was.
We're not into threats. By the way. We don't ever threaten each other. But the point is that you always need to take care of what's at home first.
Yeah.
You prioritize your life.
As soon as I said, I cannot do this, you need to stay, you did not hesitate to let the poor, unfortunate person that you were supposed to go hunting with the next day, you texted him and said, I'm sorry, I can't go. My wife needs me. And that was that. There was no making me feel guilty. There was no, that was it. And I know that you were dying inside, and I know that it hurt. And it hurt me to have to say that to you. But then part of why our marriage and our partnership works is open communication, but also that there's 1,000 other seasons that are going to happen, and we're not ever having any more kids, so this is going to be your season's coming, basically, is what I'm saying.
And one of the things you hear me preach on here is that you can't outgive good.
Right.
It's going to come around.
Right.
And even though it hurts and it stings in the moment, it all comes around.
Right.
And
then that beautiful podcast that you did, your first solo podcast, was born from that experience that you had of basically having to make that decision. I need to do what's best for my wife and my family right now. And I don't know if this is true or not, but from what you've told me, that's like one of the most commented on podcasts that you've done. Yeah. That you've at least talked to me about.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah, it's very, very real, and I think it's something that people don't really want to talk about, and they don't want to get vulnerable and think about it, talk about it. But it really is so, so, so important to put what's really important first.
Yeah.
Put what's really important first.
So, some advice.
Yeah.
For all the hunters out there who are not in relationships yet, who love hunting, mm-hmm. who want to pursue it, what advice do you have for them?
Oh, man. First and foremost, for sure, obviously, I think this is kind of a no-brainer, but you lay it all out there. You can't sell somebody a product with false information. So with that, you tell them exactly what you're all about. Hey, this is hunting's my thing. Hunting's going to be my thing. Okay. Put it out there. Don't sugarcoat how much or how often you're going to be gone. Because I think that the other side has a right to know what they're getting into. But then also on the flip side, I met a woman one time who was holding her brand new baby, and she told me, oh, well, my husband, so-and-so, he's told me from the very beginning, hunting's always going to be more important than me. And I just about fell out of my chair because she said it with such a straight face and with such a nonchalant attitude that I was like, who is this person? And why would you ever tell somebody that you love that that's more important than them? So that really hit home too. So I think also just kind of checking yourself a little bit. Like, what's really important in the long run? Like, in the long run, is the hunting really so much more important than your family or the person that you love that you're going to put them on the back burner every single time?
Right.
That's not...
Hunting is cathartic. It makes us feel better emotionally,
right.
physically, mentally, spiritually. Like, it covers all 6 aspects of health.
Absolutely.
Hunting. So when I go hunting, and this is what my wife knows about me now, is that it's good for my soul. I come back rejuvenated, ready to be a better parent, a better husband, because I was away. But not because I was away. It's not because I am like recharging my batteries. It's because I get to connect with myself and my creator out in the wild of creation, and humble myself and be humbled by the experience of what goes on in the hunt, so that when I come back home and I realize just how cush I have it back at home, that I get to be my absolute best.
That's totally right. And also on the flip side, to be fair to all the hunters out there, nobody should be taking that away from you either. Like, if like, I know, like Johnny just said, that this is something that's so important to him that it recharges him, it rejuvenates him, it feeds his soul. He does come back rested, relaxed, ready to parent, ready to be a husband, ready to just take on life. I'm not trying to take that away from him at all. And also, I think we were watching, I don't remember if it was a Steve Rinella show or if it was that other gentleman that we watched. I can't remember what his name is. Where he was saying his first marriage failed because of hunting, and his second marriage was, oh gosh, what is his name? He's the older guy. We watch him on YouTube all the time. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Oh. Well, anyways, he said, my wife knows I get out and I hunt because...
Is that Randy Newberg?
Yes! Randy Newberg. I like that guy.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, he was just saying, my wife knows. I gotta get out in the woods. I gotta go hunting to be the best me that I can. And that resonated with me because of how it is for you.
Yeah. Yeah. The passion, like, I love my wife and I love my children, and I love myself. And to love myself is to push myself into experiences that set my soul on fire.
Yeah.
And for me, hunting does that. And so, you know, to be able to love my wife and children, I also have to love myself. And if I don't fill up my own cup,
right, you can't pour from it.
I can't pour from an empty cup into my spouse and my children. On the flip side of that, I tried to use the excuse of being a provider,
right,
and saying that the meat was more important to our family,
right,
for me to go hunting,
right,
than it was for my wife to struggle with a brand new baby and two other children at home.
We fixed that real quick, didn't we?
Yeah, we sure did. But the point is that, like, I guess more or less, if you have to justify anything in life,
right,
you really should reevaluate it.
Exactly, because there should, yeah, exactly. But it's all a learning curve also. I mean,
human nature. We're inherently selfish. And we learn, no one teaches you how to be a husband, a wife, a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, father. Yeah. All that. You learn as you go, right? So we make mistakes. We learn from them, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Otherwise, the relationship suffers. And you continue on. So for those of you who are married or in long-term relationships, listen to this podcast, invest in your wife, invest in your husband, invest in your spouse.
Invest in your partner.
Invest in your partner. Make date night a priority, especially during hunting season. Maybe year round.
Yeah.
Our date night is what night?
Wednesdays.
So on Wednesdays during hunting season, even if I'm going to be gone on the weekends, my wife knows that we get guaranteed one-on-one time.
And sometimes we don't leave the house. Sometimes the date night is, okay, we're going to order in a fancy meal after the kids go to sleep, and we're going to watch a nice movie and have, a drink or whatever. Or sometimes it's working out together, or it's just something different than the everyday. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're even leaving the house.
Right, but what we are doing during that time is not ignoring each other.
Correct.
We're not just staring at the TV, zoning out.
Right.
It's like we're engaged in making sure we're connecting.
Right.
And that is huge. There's 3 things that motivate us in life. And the first being food. Hunger is a motivator.
Right.
When you're hungry, it motivates you to do whatever you need to do in order to
get the food.
To suffice that hunger.
Yeah.
Second is sex. People
I don't know about that.
people are motivated by sex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Look in the animal kingdom, for example.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the best time to hunt animals?
In the rut.
In the rut. When they're
dumb animals.
When they're stupid and their tongues are hanging out of their mouths and noses to the ground and all that. So they're motivated by sex. The third is a sense of community, a sense of belonging. And the community aspect is extremely forgotten. Some people go out to the wilderness to hunt solo, to be alone, to find themselves. Some people prefer being in a community of people because that's where they find a sense of belonging and acceptance, and that is huge for your soul. The person that goes and hunts by themselves, he comes home and brings meat home to a family and shares it with his community.
Right.
The hunter that hunts with other people builds that community. Well, the idea is that you and your spouse, your other half, whatever it is your community. Don't ignore that. We're motivated by our community. And if we're not in a community that is supporting and loving, it's going to wear us down to a point where life is going to be difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a two-way street. It's not just about the hunter sacrificing and going out, and the hunter needs this and the hunting partner needs that. It really is both sides. Currently, I'm a non-hunter simply out of the fact that I don't have any time right now. We don't have a babysitter. So currently, being the non-hunter, there are things that I need from you, but also there's things that you need from me, and it's a two-way street, and it's a give and take relationship. And that's really how it should be.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. So hunting and your better half. This is, who knows? If you guys like this episode, make sure to comment, respond, drop us a line at thesoulfulhunter@gmail.com, or go to the website at soulfulhunter.com, click the contact us page, or leave a comment under each episode. But I think, it's important to hear the other half, the other side, the better half. And because if you love hunting is about feeding yourself, feeding people, taking care of people. It's about conservation, which is giving to the next generation. It's about leaving that legacy. And so if you are not sharing the joy and the passion and the love for what you're doing with everyone else, then you're doing hunting a disservice, and you're doing your relationships a disservice at the same time.
Totally. I agree with that.
Yeah.
100%.
So if you like having Megan on here, drop her a line and drop us a line and be like, hey, get the wife back on. We want to hear more from you.
I have so much to say.
Yeah. Meg, tell me this, and tell the listeners this. I've tried to get you to hunt with me multiple times.
It's been a hard no.
It's been a hard no.
And it's been a hard no because it wasn't about the actual killing of the animal. It was about, I don't want to sit in the woods for hours on end, bored out of my mind, cold, tired, hungry. But then I've realized, and that was just my thought of what hunting was. Like, because I did it one time with my dad and that was my experience, and I swore I'd never do it again. And that was literally when I was 14 years old, and I'm almost 40. So that was a long time ago. But watching, you've sold me. I mean, that's kind of what you're doing with this whole thing anyway. So if you can't sell me, then I don't know who you can sell.
If I can't recruit my wife to go hunt, it's going to be a hard road.
And if anybody out there listening knows me, you know that like I cannot be talked into anything that I don't want to do. I am no. So yeah, you have sold me on something that I really feel I would benefit from. I feel like we would benefit from. Obviously there's so many questions in my head still. Like, I don't know that I'm ready to shoot an animal. I don't know that I'm ready to, what do you call it, field dress an animal. Yep. I don't know if I'm ready to do that yet, but I'm ready to start to be a part of it because I really feel like I'm missing out on something. Yeah. That's super exciting and a soulful experience that I really could use in my life.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
That's what I got to say about that.
If you were to start hunting, what animal do you want to hunt first?
I want to shoot a big fat elk, and I want it to be bigger than yours. And it will be bigger than yours.
My wife, when we got married, anytime I took her fishing, she's like, I'm going to catch a bigger fish than you. And
that's because I am a really excellent fisherwoman.
Yeah, an angler.
I'm an excellent angler.
Fisherwoman.
Fisherwoman.
Yeah, and so she's always proven me right. So
we're looking at his elk. What do you call it? The rack.
Yep.
The elk rack, the elk head, the skull, and the
mount. The
mount, right now, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh yeah, you will be mine someday.
I love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you got something out of this episode. The idea is that your life is going to be transformed through primal adventure of what hunting can provide, but not only your life, but everyone else's lives around you. Remember, you are an ambassador for the hunting community, and everything you do is being looked at through a perspective of a non-hunter. And so it's important to really lead by example, lead with love, lead with compassion, kindness, and treat people the way you want to be treated. And ultimately love people. Love on them. You want someone to start hunting, you want hunting to be around for generations to come. You want to leave a lasting legacy. To make a difference, you got to reach the heart. When you reach the heart, you make a difference. And so take that with you tonight. Take that from this episode, that if you want to make a difference in this world, you have to reach the heart. So figure out how you are showing up in the world, how you're showing up to your boyfriend, girlfriend, your spouse, your significant other, how you're showing up to your children, to your friends, and lead with love and allow what has transformed you out in the wild to then go before you and transform.
Seep into the other aspects of your life.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah. If you put as much effort into your relationships as you do your hunting, how amazing would your relationships be?
I can say I know a lot of people that could benefit from that idea.
Yeah. We're not perfect. We're not sitting up here on a pedestal preaching down to all of you. This is real life. It is Friday night for the wife and I, and we are sipping on some bourbon and recording a podcast and just trying to keep it real, because this is a Soulful Hunter, and what we're doing here is trying to reimagine and reinvent everything for for the hunting community. So
Absolutely.
Megan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was amazing. I'm excited to kind of start to be a part of this community, and can't wait to shoot that big elk.
Heck yeah, so stay tuned. Who knows? Maybe 2020 is going to be the year. Maybe 2021. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Hey, for those of you who are listening and are going to be in the Salt Lake City area in February, I'm going to be doing a seminar at the Western Hunt Expo on Thursday afternoon. That's February 13th, and Sunday morning, that is February 16th, at the Western Hunt Expo about mentorship, conservation, and primal adventure, and what the next generation of hunting looks like. So if you are going to be at the Western Hunt Expo, make sure to swing in at my seminar that I'll be providing. I'll also be there all weekend. Look me up. Don't forget to follow the Soulful Hunter podcast on Instagram and Washington Backcountry as well. And as always, everyone, stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast, I'd love it if you could go ahead and give this a rating as well as subscribe. Also, you can check us out on Instagram under the Soulful Hunter Podcast. Make sure to tag us in pictures and posts and use the hashtag Soulful Hunter. To find out more about the Soulful Hunter Podcast, go to soulfulhunter.com and be sure to follow the podcast, as we are going to be bringing you a lot of great information, insight, and changing lives through primal adventure. I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Stay tuned and stay soulful.